there's 9 months towards the election, right?
10 months.
10 months, okay. So what will you do? Well, I hear little Tony laughing in the background.
I actually want to know, how are you going to solve that problem of parole? You know, isn't that part of the due process? Putting him out on parole. How do you say to some guy who's looking forward to parole and somebody who's been a victim who's been injured to say to keep him in? How do you balance the two of those? You know what I mean?
Well, there's two different issues. Parole is different. Parole is when you're actually in prison and then you're released after you serve a certain part of your sentence. What we're talking about, which is separate, is probation, where the DA's office agrees to a plea of probation instead of going to jail. In this case that we're talking about in Pleasantville, the defendant had burglarized a lot of homes and was still not being put in jail. And there comes a probation is appropriate when you have an offender who you think you could rehabilitate, who you don't need to have incarcerated. You could help them with programs, monitoring. You don't want every single person who makes one mistake to go to jail. However, some people do belong in jail, and we have to make sure that they, right, and those people need to stay in jail, and you need to have a DA's office that's tough, that'll take the steps with the police to put someone in jail. You have to be reasonable. It's really about judgment. Some people deserve to be in jail and some don't, and you have to know the difference.
Does that get taken out of your hands by the judge, or you got the...
The judge definitely has a lot of influence, but the DA's office can take a stand and have a lot of influence.
Cool.
And the other thing, the DA's office has to know when not to prosecute people. One example is the Irma Marquez case in Yonkers. There was a woman on videotape who was picked up and thrown to the ground by a Yonkers police officer. I've worked with a lot of Yonkers police officers, and they're excellent, but this one officer did the wrong thing and threw someone to the ground. Now, putting that aside, the DA's office actually put her on trial as a defendant for resisting arrest. Fortunately, a jury found her not guilty, but the fact that a woman was on videotape thrown to the ground by a police officer, the DA's office had that videotape, and they still put her on trial as a defendant in America. It is shocking.
Was there a part of the tape that we missed where maybe it did show that she was resisting? Because I saw the tape. It didn't look like she was resisting, but maybe it was edited and I didn't see it.
And it's one thing to debate whether the officer did the right thing or not. It's another thing for the DA's office to actually put her on trial as a defendant and ask for her to be convicted. It's terrible. And they had the videotape. They were alerted to the fact that, you know, it showed what it showed. And it's about management. It's about using common sense. You don't have to be a trained prosecutor even to see that videotape and know that she should not be prosecuted as a defendant. But that's what the current DA's office is doing right now.
Oh, that's not right.
Okay, it's Dan Schorr live on Metal Mayhem with Tony and Dan in Studio B and Matt and Lewis and Zach in Studio A. Dan, do you think any other parties will endorse you, like the Family Party, the Conservative Party, and the Independent Party?
I hope to get the Conservative and the Independence Party endorsements. They won't decide that until May, so it's pretty early, but I definitely would like to get those party endorsements also.
Time to get the word out.
All right.
And, of course, the Metal Mayhem Party is really important. And I'm working very hard to get that.
This is the wild party.
All right, he's Dan Schorr, and we'll take your phone calls at 914-636-0110. 914-636-0110. We're going to go back to the music and take some calls for Dan right after this. All right, he's christened our microphones. He's Dan Schorr live on Metal Mayhem. Tony?
Yes, indeed.
He's been inducted into the Metal Mayhem Hall of Fame.
Well, thanks for having me.
That's right.
Dan Schorr.
He's the man who's trying to stop mayhem in Westchester, and here we are trying to create it.
You can still have Metal Mayhem as long as we stop the other kinds of mayhem.
Cool.
So, Dan,
then he's down with us.
What will you be doing over the next 10 months to get the word out and to get everything, continue the motion forward?
I'll be meeting with a lot of people and groups all around the county, and it's really important that people know the issues at stake in this election, that they know that there are problems in law enforcement, that we can have a better DA's office that works with the police, keeps people safe. I would ask people to talk to their local police officers, and they'll hear from them the problems that we currently have in the DA's office. And I also want to talk to people and hear their concerns. I have a website, which, if I can mention that, it's electdanschorr.com, electdanschorr.com. And people can, there's a phone number on there, there's an email address on there. People can contact me or my campaign, and I'm happy to talk with anyone who has an issue with criminal justice or just wants to know more about what's at stake in the election. I'll be spending a lot of time traveling all around the county. There are a lot of residents here, and I want them to know what this campaign is about.
Dan, you're a United States citizen, as we all are here at Metal Mayhem. I want to ask you this, divert off the path for a second, but not really. What did you think of the whole Illinois governor thing?
It's shocking that even in this age where sometimes we become cynical about elected leaders, it took it to another level when someone was actually trying to sell a Senate seat, or at least that's the way it clearly seemed from the tapes that were released.
At least for our sake, he could have sold the seat to Metallica concert.
Is there one member in particular that you would rather get that seat in Metallica?
No, he could have sold it to me. I would have taken it for $1.380.
Yeah, it's terrible. You have someone who's a governor who has the power to appoint a United States senator, and they're seemingly looking for money in return. It goes beyond even some of the other scandals that we've seen recently in New York State.
On a more positive note, Bill and Hillary Clinton were supposedly at Times Square this New Year's Eve. Did anybody catch a glimpse of them, Lewis, on TV or anything?
No.
I saw a clip of that on TV on New Year's Day when they were playing highlights from Times Square.
Yeah. His nose was really red that night.
All right, Dan Schorr, running for
fans.
Westchester County District Attorney. You can check out his website at
electdanschorr.com. That's electdanschorr.com.
All right, we're back on the big show with Dan Schorr, who's running for Westchester County District Attorney. Dan, it's not every day we get a man of your distinguished caliber and stature on Metal Mayhem.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you.
Very clean-cut guy. Usually we have guys with Slayer T-shirts and...
I don't want to ruin your image, but you're pretty clean-cut, too.
He's the best-dressed man in metal.
That's
the
right.
rest of us are all ugly.
I am the best-dressed man in metal. Tony, what am I wearing tonight?
You are wearing a cardigan made by Dior, I believe.
No.
And the shirt is a French cuff. Want me to go on and on? No.
All right, Metal Mayhem is brought to you by The Haunt.
Oh, yes. Each and every week it's brought to you by The Haunt at 320 Yonkers Avenue in Yonkers, New York. Tickets for all Haunt shows can be purchased at www.thehauntrocks.com or by calling 914-375-6620. That's 375-6620. The Haunt, Westchester's premier live. You're making me nervous here, Dan. He's looking right down. I got the DA right here. The Haunt,
I'm running for DA, but not the DA yet.
All right, we've got a lot of confidence in you.
Tony, is there something you're hiding?
Oh, not me. I don't know any people. Oh, no, I'm not going there. The Haunt, Westchester's premier hard rock and metal venue. The Haunt rocks.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gizzo. Dan, I'm looking over your extensive community involvement. Tell us some of the things you've done. I know you've been active in White Plains Department of Parks and Recreation, youth basketball coach.
Yeah, I spent 6 years coaching basketball in White Plains. 7th and 8th graders, 7th grade boys in the rec league. It's so much fun. I played basketball in high school. Unfortunately, I was not.
Would you play forward or guard? Forward,
I played
right?
forward, yeah. Unfortunately, I was not good enough to move beyond the high school level, but I love playing still for fun, and I love coaching. It's a great experience.
Cool. You still live locally?
Yeah, I live in White Plains, and that's where I was coaching. I still live there, and it's they run a great recreation department in White Plains. They're really well organized. A lot of people participate.